Okay, let's just go right into a game. Casual match, four-player East. So in this video, we're going to go over the start of Riichi Book 1 by Dainichiba. And if you want more information on this book, you can look in the description. There's a link to it. It's available free online. If you don't speak Japanese, this is the book that's going to be recommended to you in order to learn more about Mahjong once you learn the basics, once you learn how to win a hand and all the yaku and stuff like that. So we're going to go over the start of it, which is chapters 3.1 and 3.2, and it may sound a bit weird, isn't the start of it chapter 1 and chapter 2, but actually chapter 1 and chapter 2 just cover how to make an account in Tenho, and we're playing in Mahjong Soul, where you don't need to read two chapters of a book to learn how to make an account, so we're just going to skip that, and we're going to start dropping these isolated honors here as soon as it's my turn. So to start off with, let me just go over some terminology real quick. So we have the mon tiles and the pin tiles and the so tiles. So the mon, also called cracks or characters or symbols, the pin, also called dots or circles, and the so, also called bamboo. And we're going to use these Japanese terms for a couple reasons. One reason is because there's a single term, so we just call these mon. We don't worry about cracks, characters, symbols, whatever. And also, the second reason is just because this terminology is what's most widely used. It's what I always hear people using. I feel like you may as well just buckle down and start learning these Japanese terms so that you can talk with other people about it and not have to worry about it anymore. You just learn them. So yeah, that's my attitude. I hope that no one has a problem with that. It doesn't seem elitist or anything. And yeah, let's just go with that. So to actually get into some advice though, so let's talk about tile efficiency. Oh, I just drew the 6, 7, 8 here. That's very good. Let's drop this pair here. So I'm actually getting into tempi very quickly here, so this is going to be a bad example to talk about which isolated tiles to drop. But the isolated tiles that you drop are, first you drop honors, and then you drop terminals, and then you drop 2 to 8, and then you drop tiles in the middle. So here this is a 9 that is it's connected to this 7 here, but it's almost isolated. So why is it that first we drop honors and then we drop terminals? Well, with terminals, see this north here at the very start, I only had a single isolated north. I dropped that because the only way that I can possibly use this north here is if I draw another north, because it doesn't fit into a sequence anywhere. And the same is true for this red dragon. This west here, I had a pair of it. The only way I could use it is if I draw another west, or if I use it as my pair, and I already had a pair of 8s here. So these terminals are generally not as good just because they don't fit into a sequence, but they can, like the red dragon, can give you a yaku, so it may allow you to open your hand. I think, yeah, people are kind of familiar with this, right? We call that yaku high if you're able to use something like the red dragon or the east wind or your side wind, like this person using the north wind. Sorry, that's why we dropped the honors first. The terminals. Why do we drop the terminals? Is because the only way you can use a terminal is if you draw a 7 or an 8 for this 9 here. The only way that you can use, what should I drop here? I should drop this block here, this 3, 5. I'll talk about that a bit later. So yeah, for the terminals, the 9 or the 1, there's only 2 blocks you can draw, or 2 tiles that you can draw that will allow you to actually use that. If you're talking about the 2 and the 8, there's 3 tiles you can draw. The 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4 when you're talking about the 2, or for the 8, you can draw the 9, or you can draw the 6 or the 7, and that will connect up to the 8. If you talk about the 7, it goes all the way to 4 tiles. For this like 7 here, yeah, the 5, 6, and the 8, 9 are all connected to the 7, or they're within 2 of it, right? So those are that is why we prefer to drop. What should I? This hand has a lot to talk about, but I'm just starting off here. Right, so that's why we first drop the honor tiles, and then we drop the terminals, and then we drop the middle tiles. And after that, we can start talking about blocks. And after that, we can start talking about what do we do when we get into tempai. But first, let's talk about blocks. So this hand is about ready to be complete. It's in ishanten, and I've got a lot of good Yunmen blocks in it. And so I've got a pair here, and I keep drawing more. This hand just doesn't seem to complete, even though it started off really good. we just don't happen to draw the tile we need sometimes. That just happens. But yeah, so what do we have here? We have this Dianmen block here. That's what we call it. That means two-sided. And again, we're just going to use these Japanese terms because these are what are used. So let's just buckle down and use them. That's a Dianmen block. That's a Dianmen block. And then we have these complete sequences 5, 6, 7, and we have this pair 8, 8. So there's three different kinds of blocks. There's the Dianmen block and the kanchan block and the penchan block. So hopefully we'll get some good examples of that. What do we do? Let's drop these honors to start with, these isolated honors. The south I should keep because it's my side wind here. Like I can use this as yakuhai. So I would drop this north first, and then I would drop this white dragon, and then I would drop this south, and then this one I would probably keep a bit because it's connected here to the 3. So this is what's called a penchan block because it's at the end. We call it it's called penchan because it includes the 1 and the 3 here. And we have this 6, 8, 9. I may as well drop this 9 because it doesn't really help this kanchan block here. Drop this 1. I probably should have kept this one because it made a pair, but I'm a little bit distracted, so I'm making some bad decisions here. So yeah, this 6, 8 is called a kanchan block, and it's the worst kind of kanchan block because it's all the way at the end. What makes it worse than a different kind of kanchan block? This 4 is not connected to anything, so I'll drop it. Oh, I should have dropped these. See, I'm very distracted. I'm sorry. I should drop these. I should drop these honors, obviously. I'm not listening to my own advice at all here. This was a very bad thing to do, to drop this 4 here when I'm trying to follow the advice in Riichi Book 1. Right, so, but maybe this is an example of what not to do. That's what I'm trying to do here, right? Okay, so talking about the kanchan block, why is a 6-8 block the worst kind of kanchan block? You prefer like a 4-6 or a 2-4? Well, the 2-4 is the same as the 6-8 because it's the same distance away from the end, right? It's the 6-8 is the furthest to the end kanchan block you can have. And what makes it worse is that there's not many tiles that can change it into a Dianmen block. So the only way that it can change into a Dianmen block is if you draw a 5-pin and drop the 8-pin, and that will transform it into a Dianmen block, which is better than the kanchan block. And here we have another penchan block, and that kanchan block 3, 5. So I can go ahead and drop this 1 here if I get something better, but I still have this isolated 3. And I still have this 9 here, which is not really useful. Like this 9 is not really useful because it's connecting up to this kanchan block here. Even if I draw a 7, I'll have a 6, 7, 8, 9, which is not worthless, but having this, if you draw a 7, then you'll have 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not something to really get thrilled about. So I can go ahead and drop that 9 in favor of all of the other shapes that I have, like this kanchan block, this pair, this kanchan, this pair. And here in this hand, I've got 2 pairs, which in Riichi book 1, it says that 2 pairs is the ideal number of pairs to have. But I'm still going to drop 1 because that gives me a full sequence here. And I have this kanchan here, this kanchan here, this kanchan here. I was favoring these kanchan blocks over this second pair because this gets me closer to being in a ready hand. So, I mean, you don't always have to follow exactly the advice in Riichi Book 1 that you always should keep 2 pairs if you have them. Because if you can drop off one of these tiles and be ready to get into tempai. So I'm an ishanten, right? I'm 1 away from having a ready hand here because I have 1 sequence, 2 sequence, a pair, and I have 1 kanchan block, 2 kanchan block, 3 kanchan block. If I fill in any one of these, I'll be able to drop off this. Say I draw the 7, I drop the 1, I'll be waiting on the 4. So this is kind of a fast way that you can calculate if you're an ishanten or not. You count the number of sequences you have complete, whether or not you have a pair, and whether or not you have like 2 blocks that you can fill in, 2 or more blocks that you can fill in. That will mean that you're an ishanten. Or if you had 1 pair and 1 complete sequence, and 3 blocks, like 3 kanchan blocks or penchan blocks or Dianmen blocks, like all together, that'll mean that you're 2 away. Or if you have no complete sequences, but you have like a buttload of Dianmen blocks, then you're going to be 3 away. But it would be a very nice, a very nice three-way if you had like five, if you had a pair and four Dianmen blocks. That would probably turn to two away and then one away very quickly. All right, let me drop off this eight here. This hand is a little bit hard to talk about. So what do we have here? We have 4, 5, 5, 6. This is like a bulging middle shape. We have two, or we can think of it as two Dianmen blocks: 4, 5, 5, 6, and then a complete sequence 7, 8, 9. And then we have 4, 5, 5, 6, 9, 9. So we've got a pair here, and we've got two Dianmen blocks here, complete sequence here, two Dianmen blocks here. And this is very, very nice because these shapes here, 4, 5, 5, 6, they accept in a lot of tiles. We're in ishanten right now, and we can draw a lot of different things to get into tenpai. We can draw a 3-pin here and drop off. That'll put us in 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9. Or we can draw over here the 3 so and drop off this 5 over here. This is a Dianmen weight here, right? So yeah, so I only mentioned two tiles. The tiles that we were waiting on were actually like 3 and 6 and 7, I believe. And over here, it's a bit hard now that I've actually dropped the 5-pin. I believe there are 3 tiles on this side and 3 tiles on this side that we were waiting on because we had a 4, 5, 5, 6. What fits into that is the 3 or the 6 or the 7, I believe. So I think that it was six tiles that we were waiting on. And if you're waiting on 6 tiles and you're at the very start, you're going to go into tenpai right away. That's a very good hand. So yeah, there wasn't too much to talk about in this hand because we got into tenpai so quickly, and it was such a good shape to start with. And if you're in that position, like you're gonna win the hand probably. There's not much to say. We hit Riichi and we win the hand. So what haven't we talked about? So I think that there's a couple things. One is we can talk a bit more about pairs, and we can talk a bit more about this idea of perfect ishanten. Once we get into another hand. In this hand, there isn't too much to talk about because we got into tenpai so quickly. Let me just give why is it that, for example, that we prefer a Dianmen weight over a Shampong weight? So this is a Dianmen weight where we're waiting on the 4-7, right? And a Shampong weight would be, say, for instance, we happen to be waiting on this 9-so or this 6-so, and that would be a Shampong weight. If say we had instead of this 4-5-5, if this were a 5-5-5, then we would be waiting on this 6-so or this 9-so. That would be a Shampong weight, and that would be 4 available tiles. So there would be 2 6-so left and 2 9-so left that we could possibly draw, or we could possibly roan off of. Well, there's actually only one 9-so left because one has already been dropped. With a Dianmen weight, there's 8 tiles because if you don't have any of them in your hand and they haven't been discarded, there's 4 of each, and that makes 8, right? And with a single weight, there's 3 tiles because you have 1 in your hand, and there's 3 additional ones that you can draw or that you can roan someone else off of. So just from the perspective of counting tiles, the Dianmen weight when you're in tenpai or is better than the Shampong weight, which is better than the single weight or the tenki weight. All right, so drop this honor here. And so that's maybe we'll get an example of that at some point. But that's why the Dianmen weight is better than the Shampong weight, which is better than the tenki weight. There's also perfect ishanten, which I haven't covered. I'm not sure if I'll get a chance to show that off. But what that is just if you're in ishanten and you have 2 pairs and you have 2 Dianmen blocks. So you have you have a pair and you have 2 full sequences, and then you have another pair, and then you have 2 Dianmen blocks. That means that you're in perfect ishanten. And what's good about that is explained in Riichi Book 2. That you can pon either of those pairs, or that you can chi either of the Dianmen blocks in order to get into tenpai. And you also have a very wide number of tiles that you can draw to get into tenpai. So it's a very nice weight to be in if you happen to be into it. But I hope people don't get the idea that you're supposed to like actively try and force your hand into this shape where you have two pairs and two Dianman blocks, because if you're making good discards, it should naturally go into shapes like that. But if you're forcing it to go into that shape, you may be missing opportunities. So you need to be flexible. You need to make good choices in general, and not like just say, "Oh, I need to get in the perfect ishanten." But it is a nice thing to have, because even if you can't chi or pong, like one of the good things about this hand is that you can chi and pong a lot of things. Even if you don't want to open your hand, it may get to the point where you realize you're not going to win, and you want to get into tempai towards the end of the hand. And being in perfect ishanten is very good for that. If you just want to get into tempai and not be in no ten at the end of the hand and lose some points for that, especially if it's in all last, and that might change your placement, so that it can be useful just for that reason. And look at this person opening their hand. This is a very dangerous situation, right? And I haven't really been thinking about defense at all here. So yeah, so talking about perfect ishanten, how far away are we from that? We've got 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8. So yeah, we're not anywhere near perfect ishanten here, because we have 1, 2, 3 pairs. And this is another thing when we're talking about the number of pairs. If you in Riichi Book 1, it says that when you have 3 pairs, you should drop one. I think this is generally good advice. But let's look at this situation here. We have 1, 2, 3 pairs. This doesn't really count as a pair, though. That's the thing. We have a 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. This is a Dianmen block, not a pair, right? So you need to be careful about this. The pair is something like this, not something like this. It can be a little bit ambiguous. For example, if I had an 8, 9, 9, that's kind of a pair and a block there at the same time. Okay. All right, so we've got 2 red dragons. Let's drop these honors here. You've got 2 red dragons. You've got this complete block here, and this Dianmen block here, and this kanchan block here. So this kanchan block is not very valuable. Let me just drop. I shouldn't have dropped that north because it's my win, but oh well, it's too late now. So here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, complete block, Dianmen block. And I was saying that this kanchan block here is not very valuable because we already have this Dianmen right next to it. But then we draw this 9, so now we have another kanchan block. So that makes this more valuable. Drop this out. Right, dropping these honors first. So now what do we've got? We got this complete sequence, Dianmen block, kanchan, 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 right? So this is 2 away, right? So we've got 1 complete sequence, and then we've got a bunch of blocks. So we know right away that if we got a pair, a complete sequence, and like a bunch of blocks, that's already instantly 2 away. So it's very easy to calculate that. Okay, well, it's open. Why not? And let's drop off this penchan weight, because as we said, the penchan is worse. I think I said before that was a kanchan, and it's not. 7, 9 is a penchan. So, right. Or maybe you can say it's a kanchan and a penchan, because kanchan just means it's a middle weight, and it is weighting on a metal tile, right? But regardless, we call that a penchan block. This isolated 8 will just drop. So we're still, this may not have been a good thing to call because we lost our pair. We don't have a pair anymore, so we're still 2 away. But if we draw a pair, I believe, oh, could have had a pair right there. If we draw a pair, I believe that we'll be 1 away, right? Because we'll have 2 complete blocks, this 1, 2, 3, and these dragons here. If we drop a pair, we'll be 1 away, but they probably really shouldn't have called this. 3, 4. Okay, now we're upgrading this here. This 4, 6 upgrades to a Dianmen block because we drew next to it. That's why the 4, 6 is better than, say, the 5, 6. Well, the 5, 7 is just as good, but say the 6, 8 is not as good as the 4, 6 because we can upgrade to a Dianmen block like that a bit more easily. There's 2 different tiles that you can draw to upgrade to a Dianmen block if you're more towards the center. That's true for this 5, 7 as well, because we could draw, for example, the 4, or we could draw the 8, or we could draw the 6. The 6 would just complete it. But if we drew the 4 or we drew the 8, this would upgrade to a Dianmen block. Although we already have the 4-5 here. So that's kind of like, we don't really need to do that, right? It already has been upgraded. We can drop the 7. That's why I was saying that having this 5-7 is not that good, because it's like we're in a state where we already upgraded it and we just want to drop off the useless thing here. Because yeah, if we had 5-7, we would want to draw a 4 so that we could drop the 7 and we'd have the Diamond block that accepts more tiles. So that's why this 7 is kind of not that valuable compared to these other, like this kanchan block, this Diamond block, this Diamond block. This 7 stands out as not really adding much. Oh, Riichi. And now we've got a pair, so now the 7 is actually worth a lot. And maybe I'm not really worrying about defense, so let's just drop the 2-4. And see if we deal in, that's okay. I'm not worrying about defense. This 9 doesn't really help because this is our pair. Although now we have, I believe that we've gone into a perfect ishanten here. We have 2 pairs, 2 Dianmen blocks, and we're in ishanten. So like I was saying, we didn't have to force our hand into this. It just kind of naturally happens because we tend to keep a shape like this 3-4-4, so we end up with 2 pairs. We need at least 1 pair so we get this other pair. And we keep these Dianmen blocks, so we end up with Dianmen blocks. We keep these complete sequences. We just end up with perfect ishanten just based on the choices we make. We don't force our hand into that situation. And yeah, so if someone drops a 4, I can pwn it. If this person drops a 2 or a 5, I can chi it. And the same thing for this pair of 7s here. I can pwn that as well. Now I'm in tempai because I pwned there, and I could have also chi'd the 2 or the 3 mon or the 6 mon to get into tempai. So that's why perfect ishanten is good. It allows you to get into tempai a lot of different ways, by drawing things or by calling things. Okay. Let's just see if I happen to win this hand. This is a very low value hand, but I'm just thinking about tile efficiency. I'm not thinking about winning the game. I think I ended up getting second here. No, third probably. Because that person just went into first. Okay, that's fine. No, we're not trying to win. We're just trying. I'm not mad. I'm not losing my mind. I'm not flipping out. Okay, next time we're going to cover 3.3, which is complex shapes.